The growth, I think, of equality for the sexes, I would imagine, of course, started about 100 years ago, or even before that, maybe 150 years ago. So it's been evolving, and I think there's still a lot more to go, a long ways to go. I think from a global perspective, here in the U.S., I think there's enough growth. There's still room for growth, but certainly I was watching the news just in I think Saudi Arabia. They're allowing women to go to health clubs, which is just a breakthrough. So the rest of the world needs to catch up. Well, there are, from what I understand, a lot more women starting businesses than men. I'm not sure about the statistics, but there are a lot of women. A lot of it that has to do, I think, I'm not totally sure, but I think it's because they can't get anywhere in corporate America. And of course, the pandemic has really flushed out a lot more, so that it's forced a lot of people, not just women, but a lot of people to go into their own business. But prior to the pandemic, there was a huge growth of women being solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and developing their own business. And a lot of it was just because of necessity, I think. I'm not quite sure, but I know we're heading in the right direction. I really encourage entrepreneurs, male or female, to be able to go forward. It's a tough road. It's challenging to be able to start your own business, be able to grow it, be able to keep it, and especially with a lot more demands that are asked of all of us, I think, men and women. So it's a very difficult times. I thought at one point that this year is a year to be forgotten and also to be remembered. It goes both directions. So we'll see what 2021 looks like. I think going forward, what the world is looking for is leaders that show up, male, female, diverse leaders that show up with an emotion, an empathy emotion, more empathetic. And I think the virus has humbled all of us, everybody, so that we get to a point that we can be more empathetic about others that are in need or are suffering. I'm hoping that that's the case, and I'm hoping that those leaders show up because of the situation, so that, there's always a positive side to something catastrophic like COVID-19. And I'm hoping that that's what it is, that the leadership shows up, because the rest of the world is going to suffer financially, and also from a climate change situation. So we're in for rougher times, or at least the rest of the world is. I think we're blessed to be in the U.S. And even in the U.S., we have fires in California and hurricanes in the south, and we have all kinds of different things that are still affecting us because of climate change and the diversity and the leadership that we have here too. But I'm hoping that by next year, 2021, that the empathy shows up in the leaders, that they become more tolerant, which is what U.S. is really based on, is a tolerant society, that we become more tolerant of diversity and different views. And really, creativity, in my mind, comes because of diversity. If you have a homogeneous space, there is no creativity, or the creativity is limited. So when you have more inclusivity, and that's why I love Peers on Demand, is because I want it to be inclusive of everybody. Although parenthetically, we focus on business, but you don't have to be in business to come in. You could just join. So I wanted to keep it that way, very open, different locations, different industries, different experience levels, and people could just voice themselves. So I feel that I'm acting out what my beliefs are, but I'm hoping that the empathy emotion really plays out for 2021 and going forward. Certainly, climate change, we're aware of it, but we're not acting fast enough. And part of it too is that even though it's happening in all the coastlines, there's not a sense of urgency that people need to act. 10 feet, that's a lot. That's almost twice my height. So, but that's not affecting me, and it doesn't affect people, because they see, as I look out here in Chicago, everything looks beautiful and peaceful. So that maybe happened, at some point, there's not a sense of urgency. And I'm hoping that the leaders pick up that urgency. Until we're united, I think, as the leader of the world, we hurt the world by not being united. So hopefully there's a leadership that really does bring us together closer. Yeah. From the Peers on Demand, what I've thought of going in multiple directions with technology. And I believe in technology to be able to duplicate ourselves simply because it's a lot easier to have computers and be able to get the right programs. So I'm stepping into a couple areas with joint ventures with some other peers, one of which is to have a strategic and accountability piece. And we're a couple of weeks away. They're developing the user interface for that. So we could do that for our coaching groups that we have. And the other part that I'll be stepping into is having a application that we could all have peers come together and be able to develop more of a community. I do have LinkedIn groups, but it just doesn't seem to have that community feel. So I'm hoping that this will do that because there's three components. One is having a place that we could all come together and exchange thoughts, ideas, connect with each other, refer business to each other, or get to know each other, and being a place that we can just look at the events that we have. And we've got over 40 events, and I still want to grow more events with other chairs that have expressed some interest in expanding. So the platform would have a place to have a community and also a place that people could see all the different events and also have sponsors, people that want to be sponsors and be able to showcase. So we're developing that and see how that evolves. So going forward, simply preparation for the next year. I think this year is one of those that has caused a lot of introspection and changes that I wasn't aware of, and a lot of people weren't aware of how to react. So I'm taking this more of a planning stage, especially for the last quarter. The last quarter is going to be confusing with the elections, with the COVID situation, with the economic implosion. I think it's still coming. People are unemployed, and that's going to affect a lot of different businesses. A lot of the restaurants, a lot that I used to go to are out of business, and I'm sad about that. And a lot of them are boarded up, and I'm very sad about that. And even, and you probably know Edie as a speaker, the Palmer House here in Chicago, which is a big house, a big hotel, apparently is in bankruptcy. And so that's downtown area. And that's where they used to have conventions, I think. It's a huge shift that we're going through. So we're going through the balance of this year, I think, a really awakening, the real shift. And I think we need to brace ourselves for more that's coming up. Those of us that are lucky, and I feel fortunate and lucky that I can bypass most of that, but and prepare for 2021 and be able to really come out strong. So there's so from a technology standpoint, Jerry, is those two things: being able to have a coaching user interface for strategic and accountability, and the other one to have a community application that we could all come together and start to expand and grow. It's one of those things that I wanted to do, and there's a few other ones. A third one that I haven't gotten around to, but it's one of those where I can create modules, training modules, and be able to have it available for a fee. But creating content, as you know, Edie, is very challenging. It's even more challenging for me. It's part of it, getting it right or perfected, and so that takes some time. So that's those are some of the things from other perspectives. I keep an eye on technology rings, and of course, we're waiting for Apple to show up even better. Apple's coming out at some point with AR, augmented reality, probably 2 years away. which would really shift the events that we'll have on site or online. And so I keep an eye on Apple. I think they're certainly a leader in many different ways. They'll come out with their glasses, Apple glasses, and of course they just came out with the Apple Watch, the new one that allows tracking of oxygen that we spoke about, Edie, where you could track oxygen and in some cases apparently determine if somebody is sick or has a COVID tendency, which you mentioned, Edie, with your sessions. You could help people increase their oxygen levels or their vitality or resilience so that they can be in a better position when the COVID hits everybody. And it is going to happen. I think, from what I understand, 90% of us are going to be affected with COVID sooner or later. And hopefully we have the resilience to that it's going to come back, where there's still a direction for big cities to continue to grow, for people to get together. And there'll be a hybrid. They get together online and they get together on site. There's a need for people to see each other, just to be with other human beings. That's our DNA. So I think it's just put on hold for 2 years, I would think. And until that happens, hopefully those buildings can weather. Here is, what do we do about it? And I'm encouraging our peers group to plan out 2021 and be strategic about it. I think Democratic president's going to get in. I think the vaccine's going to be or starting to resolve in a year. And I think that we're still going to have social unrest. And we are going to have a disturbance in the real estate and coming out and being available. So given all those situations, the key is, how do each of us in our own businesses survive and thrive and get better? And I think part of that is planning. Another part is being together. I encourage joint ventures freely, whether I'm involved or not. I prefer to be involved, but if I'm not, I'm okay with that too. Simply because I want to expand a lot faster. So that's one of the things that I'm focusing in, planning and strategizing, given some things that I think are going to happen. How do I show up, or how do we show up? How do we get better? How do we improve? How do we make the world better? It's drama. This is the time to be in the world and being alive. So with that, thank you so much. Good to connect with you. Great to have this discussion. I appreciate it. Be well, be blessed. Enjoy the weekend.